Morning, Judge. I think you're muted.
The old mute button. No, good morning, Scott. How are you?
Fine. Can you see the agenda?
I've got the agenda. Yes, sir. I see it.
Hopefully the changes we made solved last month's problem.
Absolutely. I'm confident that they will be resolved. Studio 46 pretty good to work with.
You use them for all the fiscal court meetings?
Yes, sir. They helped us. Never will be able to adequately repay them, but they did such a fantastic job when we needed help with Deputy Connolly's funeral. Just they helped so much.
That's great.
I'm sitting in the parking lot behind the Capitol Annex.
I've been there many times.
I was lucky to find a decent parking spot. I came early to make sure I could get settled. So by the time 10 o'clock rolled around, I wasn't fumbling around.
Yeah, I got there early too, back last month when we were going before the interim joint committee. We all met up at that big green building right in the middle of the lot.
Yeah.
When I first got there, it was pretty much empty, but by the time it was time for us to walk in, man, they were rolling in.
They were rolling in, huh?
And that's the interim.
Yeah. It's not as packed today. I've seen it, not a space anywhere. It's got plenty of cars here, but there's spaces available.
Yeah.
Is Jessica with you today?
Yes, she is.
Good morning, Jessica. I don't know if
I don't see her yet.
I'm going to pick up my phone and text our colleagues.
Okay.
Just as soon as I do that, see Mr. Parker.
Here's the superintendent.
Yep. Good morning, Mr. Parker.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. How's new school year going, Superintendent?
Oh, it's going well. Knock on wood, fingers crossed. We've got a big board meeting tomorrow, and I've got a meeting with Scott County United this afternoon that should give me an indication of how tomorrow might go. So we'll see.
Good.
Hey, Mayor, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry for being late. I was on the phone conversation about about a sign.
Well, we'll call this meeting to order and appreciate everybody's attendance. Let the record reflect that Superintendent Billy Parker, Mayor Bernie Jenkins, Judge Executive Joe Pat Covington were in attendance as well as Director Scott Hall. First item that we have is the approval of minutes from the last meeting, 7/26/23. Does anyone have any comments or questions related to those as presented?
No, sir. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will then move over to number 4, FYE fiscal year ending 2023 revenue collections breakout by jurisdiction. So I'll turn it over to Director Scott Hall.
Thank you, Judge. Can everyone see the spreadsheet with all the data?
Yes.
Okay. So this is something, since it's your first year, Mayor, that after the end of the fiscal year, I give this to all three jurisdictions in this meeting. It's got the monthly amounts that we collected that we actually deposited in the bank, and that's the $53.5 million we talked about last month. But I gave you a deeper breakdown. So, for example, Mayor, there's the regulatory fees we collected for you, as well as how much of that was city net profit taxes, how much of it was city net profit penalties and interest, how much of it was payroll taxes, and how much of it was payroll penalties and interest. And then I did the same thing for the county and the school board, except they don't have regulatory fees, but it's the, net profit P&I, payroll P&I. So it gives you a deeper dive into the general numbers I gave you last month. And of course, that adds up to the $53.5 million, just as a double check. I'm sure Michelle, Stacy, and Gina will find this beneficial, as well as you all. Just a more detail as to what we collected for you last year.
Scott, that's great data that I appreciate greatly. And when I opened this spreadsheet in the original email, it didn't have the data populated. Could you resend that later today?
Yes, I meant to mention that before I started here. That was an error on my part. I apologize. I sent you the blank template instead of the populated data. I will send this before the end of today. I'll send this out to everybody that was on the meeting invite. I'm also going to be sending the strategic plan that we're going to go over here in a little bit. I did not attach that to the information that was sent out Friday because Jessica and I were still tweaking it.
No problem. No worries. Any questions from Superintendent Parker, Mayor Jenkins?
No, thank you. None.
Okay, we'll move on to number 5, work from home refund impact analysis.
Okay, again, this is something I've done the last couple of years at the end of the fiscal year, show you an analysis of the refunds and what kind of impact work from home is having. So the top part here, the background, this is just total refunds issued. So we're just looking at this first part is what happened with total refunds. So we issued 464 refunds for a total of $1.2 million. That's an average of almost $2,600 per refund. Compared to the prior year, which was 472 refunds, 671,000 with an average of $1,400. So we're actually down 8 refunds from last year, but we're up over $500,000, which is a huge increase, which also increases our average refund by $1,100. But the reason for most of that is we had 2 net profit refunds. You may remember this from prior meetings because they were over 10,000. These 2 were over 100,000. We had one that was 347 and one that was 113. So that's 461,000 of the 500,000. That's the majority of it. And the rest of it looks like to me, with fewer refunds, fewer people filing refunds, the people that are filing refunds are just traveling more throughout the year. Now, the work from home, the component to all those refunds breaks out like this. So out of that 464, there were 97 refunds issued that had a work from home component. So that's only 21% of all refunds issued, which means almost 80% had no work from home in the refunds. The total impact is 155,400, and then you can see the city and county breakouts. Of course, school is not a part of this. So, and then here's a further breakdown of the 97 refunds. And the work from home component can be as low as 1% of the total refund or 100% of the total refund. If you'll see down here at the bottom, 56 of the 97 or 58%, the majority of all of them were 50% or more work from home. The refund composed was 50% or more, and that's down. It was 74% last year. So the bottom line on work from home is we've had 18 fewer work from home refunds issued, and we paid out $43,000 in fewer work from home dollars paid. So the impact is declining, is the bottom line to this report compared to last year. The overall refunds are up, down in quantity, but up in dollar amounts for the reason I stated above. But the actual work from home impact has declined year over year. Any questions on that?
No.
Very interesting, and appreciate that insight. We will go down if there's no other questions there. to our number 6 item, directors and officers coverage.
Yes, I've been talking to Lewis Wolf, our insurance broker at Craig and Hall, for quite a while. And I believe Mr. Livingston has also had some conversations with Patrick, the risk manager at City Hall. I think there's some concern that we might need to have directors and officers insurance coverage through the Revenue Commission for the 3 commissioners. Now, Jessica and I have discussed this at length, and unless there's something we're missing, probably the coverage you already have for directors and officers insurance would cover you in any official capacity that you're doing in your current roles. So, which should include the Revenue Commission. So I just kind of wanted to get some guidance. If you agree with that, if you'd like to look into it, if you'd like me to pursue a policy with Mr. Wolf, who's our broker, and see what kind of coverages are out there. Just kind of looking for some input from the commissioner.
Scott, have you talked to KLC, or have you talked to maybe even with Devin or somebody from our office to see what kind of coverage we do have, or even talking with Megan may give you some information on that. So, or
No, I haven't. But
or even
Lewis has,
from Judge Covenant's office, maybe they got information they could give you on that. So you may want to check with them and see what is the coverage on that.
And I would just say, and Scott and I have talked about this, from my research and understanding, because the roles that each of you serve on the commission are part of your elected or appointed position defined by ordinance, that your office coverage would be sufficient, because
Okay.
everything you do for our office or for our commission is directly related to that position that you each hold. So it was our understanding that it would be sufficient. So I just want to put it out there as to why in our conversations with Scott, that I was pretty sure that your current coverage would be sufficient, just because each of you are on this board as a result of the position that you hold, which is then covered by your general coverage for that role. So that's why I kind of took the position that I have on it. But I could definitely reach out to Devin, and then Judge, if there's someone from your office, and Superintendent, if there's someone that you would like for me to confirm with each of your legal folks, I can definitely do that, just so that we have any coverage that we need. But obviously we don't want to have coverage we don't need.
Jessica, would you mind, and I could do it, but it might be good if you did it. Temple Jewett at Kentucky Association of Counties.
I know him very well. I used to work with him.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and he could confirm, the logic that you're sharing sure does make sense to me. And if we didn't have to have duplicate coverage, it would save money, and I think that would be the appropriate thing. So if
I will definitely
on my side, if you could reach out and have a conversation with Temple, I think that would be able to, clear this up and move forward.
I will. I'll do that.
all right, so I guess we'll table this item and revisit this next month after Jessica does some more of her research.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on down to strategic plan review.
All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've talked about this before, but I just wanted to kind of circle back, kind of update it a little bit, and tell you what we're talking about here. I've been calling this for years a pathway to world-class tax administration. That's not just a clever phrase. There's a method to my madness. I'll show you here shortly. There's basically 9 key performance outcome areas for tax administration that we're going to look at here. Everyone see the mission statement?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm a little gun shy after last month with some of the screen share. This is on our website. There's nothing new here. But this is basically what this comes down to. There's 9 performance outcome areas, and the world-class thing comes from where this photo credit talks about is the Tax Assessment Diagnostic Assessment Tool, better known as TDOT, which is something that's hosted by the International Monetary Fund. There are a lot of countries in Europe where the TDOT folks come in and actually do like an external audit and see if you're hitting on all 9 of these cylinders, then essentially you have a healthy tax administration structure in your country. And I was exposed to this about 4 years ago, and I'm looking at all 9 of these, and they all apply at the state and local level here. So that's why I've kind of adopted that. You know, performance outcome areas, sometimes they're called pillars of a strategic plan or goals. But for this discussion, it's the 9 performance outcome areas. I just want to briefly go through each of them to give you a sense of, you know, the diagram here and which one we're talking about. Because, you know, we talk about the success and the aggregate on these meetings, but sometimes we get asked, well, how are you guys having all this successful collections? Well, there's no silver bullet, there's no magic pill. It's a lot of little things. So what I'm going to tell you here is what some of the little things are. So what we have here is some things we've implemented and then future implementation. And each of these 9 slides are going to talk about that. So integrity of the taxpayer database. We don't want to be sending notices to people that they owe us $100 if they don't owe us anything. So there's a lot of things we do that we've already done. Internal standardization and training. Jessica's taken the lead on that. And we've really come a long way to standardizing. Of course, our MSP, our second MSP, you approved as database development services. They've literally worked miracles with our existing old tax software that we never thought we could do. Annual file reviews. This is critical and something that was very spotty at best when I first got here. We made a lot of improvements there. And then, of course, the state record retention schedule, we follow that. We were not following it when I got here. Not that we weren't keeping enough, we were keeping too much. So we've done a lot of purging, and that has helped as well clean up the tax software as it currently exists. And then at some point in the future, not now, we're worried on focused on the lockbox right now, but at some point we'll be focusing on maybe a new tax software somewhere in the future. The second one, effective risk management. You know, we have to manage our risk systemically. There's a lot of things you can see implemented here, everything from our cyber insurance policy down to our course and alarm and cameras. Patrick at the city, who's the risk manager, he's been a great source of information. And then most of this has to do with cybersecurity. Future implementation, something I'm looking at, and I've worked with GPD on this, and Patrick, and the water company, actually, is ballistic drywall in our customer service area. The water company's done that, and GPD has that. And then a panic button is something we're also looking at. 3 is supporting voluntary compliance. This is the most cost-effective way for us to collect our tax money. Usually most taxpayers will meet their obligations if they're given the necessary information and support to enable them to comply. We've done a lot here, everything from adding credit cards, which we did not accept 7 years ago, to adding the drop box. We've been talking about that. Voluntary disclosure agreements. That one tool we didn't have when I arrived here. We collected over $200,000 with that one tool. Payment plans. And then, of course, in the future, we'd like to do more community outreach and educate people on occupational license tax, because there's definitely a lack of understanding of what the tax is and why they have to pay it. And then we'd like to add some Spanish forms and instructions as well. The fourth one is on-time filing of declarations. Timely filing is essential. That's why we have penalties associated with that not happening. And what we're wanting to do here is explore other data resources where we can convert those failure to files into failure to pay by using assessments. Sometimes if they filed a couple of years in the past, we can do an average and come up with something. But some of the tools we've tried to use, like state tax information, has not yielded a lot of good results for us. So we're constantly looking for new ways to explore other data sources to improve on that. On-time payment, of course, non-payment is a big part of what we do here. Frankly, it's why I was hired 7 years ago, because the collection efforts were somewhat lacking. We do have now fair, robust, efficient, and effective collections and enforcement protocols, and that is all because of Jessica Brown. So you can congratulate her on that. Future implementation, we like to explore other collection tools, including civil action for severe delinquency. I mean, not everybody that's a day late and a dollar short, but just really the worst offenders. Wage garnishment is a tool we have for certain taxpayers that might be effective. And pre-screening check for all jurisdictions, where people, before they do business with the city, county, or school board, are checked for compliance with the Revenue Commission. That also benefits the taxpayers, because not only does it get them on our radar sooner, but it'll save that taxpayer lots of money in penalties and interest in the future if we find them later. 6 is accurate reporting. So, okay, you can see in green here, they registered, they filed, they paid, but is it accurate? So, you know, we got 3 of them for the people that are compliant, but then we still have to do a review. Regular net profit reviews are an essential tool used to narrow our tax gap. They provide a corrective component, a deterrent component, and a preventative component that these audits, that's the benefit of doing regular, effective, and efficient tax audits. And a future implementation, we're in the process of cranking this up. In fact, I got some more emails from Fifth Third this morning. Once we get the lockbox, that's going to be a real game changer for us in terms of having the time to do more active, efficient, and effective audits. Number 7 is effective tax dispute resolution. Again, the one-time courtesy waiver, that is a 100% Jessica Brown creation. Penalty and interest statements we've always had, but they were not really formalized. Taxpayer appeals process, administrative determination, hearing policy, we've got those in place. And again, Jessica was instrumental in those. And then as far as future implementation, for the past 2 years, Jessica and I have attended the International Conference on Taxpayer Rights. It's very cost-effective training. We will continue to participate in that so we can not only on a national level, but a global level, keep up with the latest trends in taxpayer rights. And I think along with the education we talked about before, improving taxpayer rights education, there's kind of a sense with some people where you can't fight City Hall. Well, actually you can. And that's the sign of a healthy tax administration system, as people feel like they have at least they have a chance to be heard. It might not go their way, it might, but they need to have a chance to be heard. And that's the one thing, if I could educate taxpayers on, it's that you have rights. Please understand you have rights. Efficient revenue management. Our budget is a big part of what we do here every year, and the independent external annual audits are a big part of that. Future implementation, I'm in the process of working with Pam, our office manager, to get those audits posted on our website every year. And then 9 is kind of similar, accountability and transparency. As public institutions, we're answerable for the way we use public resources and exercise our authority. Again, although not required by law, we hire an external CPA firm to come in and audit our financials. In fact, they will be here next week. And then we added a customer satisfaction survey back in 2018 on the main page of our website. And again, posting the audits on the website is another way to enhance our accountability and transparency. So, any questions about that?
Scott and Jessica, first of all, thank you all for what you're doing with that. But you and Jessica and Scott and I have talked going back to number 5, where collecting, giving them the power to collect, on outstanding taxes. I think I mentioned that you collecting probably about 40 to 50%. Even if we was collecting 80%, that's a big game changer of millions of more dollars that comes into our revenue. So, and I think we were talking about maybe some way the legislative body and both local as well as the county and even the school is come up to ways where we can help Scott and Jessica collect money for taxes that for people that won't pay or refuse to pay, and somehow make it where it's fair for everybody. So
Yes, Mayor, that's true. Jessica, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that that's absolutely correct. And I know, one of the things that we've talked about a lot that from my position, I think could be the single most helpful thing that could be done is pre-screen implementation for all vendors and bids contracts that are issued by the jurisdictions. And I know there's lots of different logistics for why that hasn't happened yet, but I know for me, if I'm going to give you one thing that could be done for free without any additional increases in taxes would be to make sure that we're effectively enforcing the tax that we have. And to me, the pre-screen before contracts, bids, or vendor payments are made would be absolutely the most instrumental thing that would allow us to get on the front side of people being issued payments to make sure they're compliant. And the city, they have the administrative hold ordinance, as you all know. And so there are departments that have to do that, planning and zoning, code enforcement, buildings, because of the forms that have been implemented. And so that's working, but it's not all departments within the city. And I don't know, or I don't believe there's something similar at the county or school level, but that's something that I think would be just absolutely instrumental if the jurisdictions could consider what that looks like for them and how that could work.
Yeah, and even with all the success we have, we still have a non-compliance rate overall that's way too high. So we're definitely going to be exploring some other methods and avenues and how to do it. And what Jessica and the mayor talked about is something I think in the long run will definitely be something we'll want to explore. Any other questions on the strategic plan?
Much appreciated.
All right, so now we will go to the general discussion. Not a lot here this month. There were no projects. I attached that. The May Toyota project was the last one approved. KJRA, again, nothing new there. That's the same every single month on that payment. Let me see here. Let me get back to where I was. Sorry. Our auditors, as I mentioned, are going to be here next Monday. I did want to share this with you. I hope it's going to come up. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Jessica's green thumb. That's 100% Jessica Brown. I call her the pioneer woman. It's a very inviting, every time I walk in, it's like, wow, that's really beautiful. So
Yeah.
at least part of the year, it's a very inviting, and that's 100% her selection, her hard work, her digging in the dirt, and her watering. That's Jessica.
So is Jessica going to dig out the sweet potatoes?
She just might, Judge. The vines really did well out there. The ones at my house are dead, but these did really well.
Yeah.
If you need another side job, you can come over to my house. I'll let you put stuff in mine.
Got a side hustle, Jessica, now. Okay. So the monthly tax stats here, you probably looked at those, way high, $3 million, 188% increase. This is another one of those months where in 2022, we did not get and it's not just our largest employer, this particular tax, payroll tax company, there's other companies in there as well. It just makes the month look way out of whack. So it'll be low next month, and we'll see how that balances out. I did not include the quarterly stats collection review because it would just be this very same information. There's no additional months to compare. So we'll ramp that back up, and in the interest of time, we'll let that go. New accounts, we're already at 969 this year. So for the first 7 months, we're averaging 138 and 65 closed. We hit kind of an unusual flip-flop here. I know Jessica's been doing some more account cleanup. We closed 100, but there were 87 new open. But we are still almost at 1,000, and we have 5 months left to go in this year. So we're probably easily going to break the 1199 from last year. So
I would just say, just like Scott said, whenever I do my quarterly file reviews for the delinquent legal accounts, usually always the resolution will end with payment and then closure because the businesses are out of our area. So that's why that number looks so high. I was working on that in June and July, so I closed a lot of accounts.
Yeah. But currently we're at 969 new accounts and 458 closed. So we will probably, with 5 months left, easily beat the 1199 last year new businesses. So businesses booming in Georgetown. That's no news to anybody. Anything else on the general discussion?
Any other questions? That leads us down to our next regularly scheduled meeting, Wednesday, September 27th at 10 a.m. And that closes out our business unless someone else has any other questions or comments.
I did want to point out, I thought there might be a conflict next month because of KLC, but I was wrong. I checked their website. The KLC website is the week before. It's the 19th through the 22nd. I'll be there a lot. I'm sure the mayor's going to be there as well. And Judge, I checked Keiko's website. Your all's conference is also in Lexington, but it's not till November, I believe.
November is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So there'll be no conflict for any of us. So our normal time certainly works for us.
Okay. Sounds good. Would there be a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I'll second.
Please vote with your leave the meeting. And Jessica and Scott and everyone, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Judge. 27 minutes. I told you we could do it.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you.
Off to the next meeting. See
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.